So, Shomu sir, what are we discussing today?
We have a beautiful question, Harshal. You can very well use a single variable to solve this problem, but I'm going to show you a nice way of analyzing the options and figuring out the answer. Will that do?
Sure. Let's start.
Okay, let's look at the problem first. So Arun drove from home to hostel at 60 miles per hour. Great. So we know there is a home, there's a hostel, so he's traveling a certain distance, whatever. So that speed is known to us, right? While returning home, he drove halfway along the same route, but halfway, right? So half the distance, the same route, at a speed of given certain speed, and then to a bypass road, which increases driving speed by 5 miles. So now, while returning, halfway he is covering with a certain speed. The remaining distance is not same as half of the remaining distance. So, I mean, half of the total distance is not the remaining distance. So the remaining distance is half of the distance plus another 5 miles, right? So took a bypass road, which increased his driving distance by 5 miles. So this is for the second section, right? So if the total distance, for example, I mean, just to elaborate this by variable once, so the total distance was 2D. I'm not saying to and fro. I'm saying home to hostel itself was 2D. Then while returning, he's traveling D and then D plus 5, something like this, right?
Right.
So just to visually understand this, I just wrote this down. You may very well use these variables to solve the problem, but as I promised, I'm not going to use it. So let's continue. So halfway with the speed and then the remaining through a bypass, which increased the distance by 5 miles, but with a speed of 50 miles per hour along the bypass road. If his return journey took 30 minutes more than his onward journey, then total distance traveled by him is. Now, don't ponder on this 30 minutes difference because, I mean, rather the increase part or something, I mean, that is bound to increase, right? Because originally when he traveled with speed of 60 miles per hour, and here both the sections is less than 60 miles per hour. So the time is bound to increase, right? Whatever. I mean, even in the second, I mean, in the return journey, he's traveling a certain section more than what he traveled going forward. So don't ponder too much into it. So just focus on the data point that are provided. So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to tackle the distance, because that is what we are looking for, right? The total distance traveled by him. Now remember that relationship 2D, D and D plus 5 version.
Right.
So I'm just leaving that as a reference point. So this is forward, return, D and D plus 5. Again, you can use this as the variables to solve, but I'm just going to leave this as a reference point. Forward journey, backward journey, just indicated the arrows in that way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with the options and work smartly with the options. What I mean by that is, see, if I consider the total distance will be what? It will be 2D forward, 2D backward, and then plus 5, right?
Correct.
So in one way direction, I mean, in one motion, if I think about the forward motion, to determine that, first I have to reduce this 5 and half the value, right? So what I mean by that is, so it will be something like 4D plus 5 will be each of these options, right? And one of these options will be 4D plus 5, something like this, right? So if I have to figure out the 2D, not the D, because 2D is the relevance, one single journey. So if I have to calculate 2D, I have to reduce 5 and then half it, something like that, right? So I'm first of all, I mean, you can do this without even writing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this 5 miles first, or remove it from each of the options. That will take off the extra he traveled in the back journey, and then half it. So let us get those corresponding numbers out here. So 55 minus 5 is 50. Half of that is 25 miles, right?
55.
Okay, 60 miles minus 5. So that is 55. And half of that is 27.5, right?
Right.
65 minus 5 is 60. Half of that is 30 miles.
30 miles.
70 minus 5, 65. Half of that, 32.5, right?
Correct.
So these are the possible distances in the forward direction.
Correct.
So first of all, I'm going to work with the comfortable numbers. So I'm going to ignore the 27.5 and 32.5 to begin with. I mean, 0.5, I don't like it to begin with. So let's start with one of these two. So let's start with 25 and 30. So let's go by sequence. So let us assume that he goes 25 miles to begin with in the forward direction. So in the forward journey, he's traveling 25 miles with a speed of 60 miles per hour. So this should be the hours that he travels. Now while returning, what happens? Half of 25 he travels. So that is 12.5 miles with a speed of 25 miles per hour, right? The first section.
Correct.
Then he travels 12.5 plus 5. So that is 17.5 with a speed of 50 miles per hour.
Correct.
Now notice something out here. This number is not a good number, right? It's 5 by 12 or something. Here we have a half. This is bang on half. And this thing, we are not getting by 12 or something, right?
Right.
I mean, this 50 is not a multiple of 12, right? So adding
Correct.
these two, I mean, we need what? We need a difference of 30 minutes, right? So it should be something, I mean, this plus half an hour should give us this, right? Now 5 by 12 plus half will be something by 12, obviously, right? So we are not going to get select something by 12 from this. So we can scrap this 25 option. So we can scrap this one.
Right.
Now let's work with the other good number. So 30. Now if I go with 30 by 60 forward direction, that is half an hour.
Right.
Return, half of 30 he travels, so that is 15 miles. He travels with a speed of 25, right?
Right.
And 15 plus 5, so that is 20 miles. He travels with a speed of 50 miles per hour. Now notice something interesting out here. This 15 by 25 is actually 3 by 5. And this 20 by 50 is actually 2 by 5. And 2 by 5 plus 3 by 5 is 1. Now half an hour, say 1 hour, that is actually an increase of half hour, right?
Right.
So that is an increase of 30 minutes. So what we are looking for. So this satisfies.
Nice.
So essentially, now I can tell you something. I mean, I think this was in CAT 2018 or 2019. I'm not sure, either one of these two. But I took both the papers. I mean, this one I attempted in the paper with this approach. And the first option I actually tried was 65 miles. Now there's a reason behind it, because I have an understanding of how to simplify the options and stuff. So I've given a basic understanding of that. Hopefully everybody who are watching this video can work on it themselves and get comfortable in your own way. So that is very important. Not this is something I cannot teach. So you have to understand and own the approach or something. So what I observed additionally was this thing is going to happen. This 12.5 and 17.5. This is going to happen if I start with 25 miles, or rather this 55 miles for option. See, if I half 50, I'm getting 25, right? But on the return journey, it's not 25 miles in one go, right? It is half of 25 and then 5 more.
Right.
So half of 25 is going to give us another fraction, right? So my idea was, let's work with the values which are giving me some holistic numbers. I mean, that is not mandatory, but the thing is, I mean, that what I mean by mandatory is, that is not mandatory to be the answer. I mean, it can very well happen that this case was satisfying. That is possible. But I'm saying it would be comfortable to work with, right? So if I'm going by the options, test the easier options first. That should be the strategy, right? Why waste time on working on options which will be anyhow complicated? So for example, if I would have worked with these numbers first, that would have been very bad to work with, right? I mean, 27.5, just imagine now. So 27.5 forward, that is fine, 27.5 by 60, whatever. But then when returning, it's the first section is half of 27.5, 13.75. Are you getting my point? So that is even worse number to work with. If that is the case, then variable se kar lo. That will be much better, right? Let me show the variable approach also. It's not tough to do using the variable approach. So in the forward direction, I'll not consider D and that. I'll consider 2D and, as I said, so 2D with a speed of whatever, then D, and here we have something like D plus 5 or something, right? So this is the sort of a travel, right? Now we have 2D with a speed of 60 miles per hour. It will take a certain time with this. So this will be the hours. And on the return journey, it will be D by 25 and D plus 5 by 50, something like this, right? Now this time plus half an hour. Don't forget, don't just do plus 30. You get it wrong because everything here is in kilometer per hour and miles. Miles per hour and miles, right? So whatever this time, these are all hours, right? So don't make a mistake in unit. So 2D plus 60 plus half an hour will be equal to this. So just solve this and you get the value of D. Don't forget that the total distance will be 4D plus 5.
Okay.
Whenever we are using variables, we should always keep in mind what the variables indicate. So when we are using the variable to be 2D, D and D plus 5, you should understand what 2D is, what is D plus 5, right? So the total is 4D plus 5. So just evaluate this. It will not be tough to evaluate. On this side, it will be something like 50 LCM. So you have 2D plus D plus 5. So that is 3D plus 5, right? On this side, you have 60 as an LCM. So 2D plus 30 by 60. And then you evaluate this and you get the answer.
But
enough?
still, I would be going with that
Yeah, it
options.
is smarter, but I'm just mentioning this because every time the options may not be feasible, may not be favorable,
Right.
as well as you might get a question which doesn't give you options, right? So you should know approaches which doesn't utilize options. I mean, anyhow, option-based thing are the next stage of your preparation, right? First, you should be able to understand how to solve it without
Correct.
looking at options any which way, right? So
Right.
you should always be aware of those processes. But yeah, I can
Right.
understand what you're saying. I mean, I also did it in that way. That is obviously faster, much faster. So,
But no,
yeah,
even after that, the way you explained that why you took 65 miles in, I mean, while calculating in your exams. So
yeah.
that's also pretty much important. The understanding of that.
So you should be aware of why you're doing and what you're doing. I mean, it shouldn't be arbitrary, right? I mean, if you're
Correct.
doing arbitrarily just testing options, I mean, then you will waste a lot of time in a lot of cases. I mean, nothing works. I mean, you don't know what is the correct option, right? It could be that you start with the options in, I mean, first, second, third, fourth order, and the answer is the fourth option. You can even also start with, I mean, in the fourth, third, second, first option, order, and the answer could be very well the first. So it should not be an arbitrary order. It should be through some idea, right? So why am I testing with 55 and 65 to begin with? That is something should be understandable, that I'm focusing on the options that is easier to test with. So if I start with the options which are easier to test with, that in itself takes less time, right? So for me, when I was solving this question, as I said, I started with 65 because what I observed was if I remove 5 and then half it, I get 30, and half of 30 is 15. So that is integer. 55, 5 subtracted is 50. Half of 50 is 25, but 25 ka half is 12.5, which is not an integer. So to me, 65 was more favorable than any of the remaining 3 options. So let me help you to understand the next step, what I would have done. If 65 did not work out, I would have straight away got into this. I would not have tested any other option.
Okay.
Because what if I then test 55 and that also doesn't work out? Then it has to be 60 and 70. Now I'm stuck, right? Now I'm stuck in a dilemma whether I should go with the option or. So don't create situations which hamper the time management for yourself. If you are going by an approach, it should be to your comfortability one and a smart one. Smart one in terms of time management, right?
Correct.
So yeah.
So pretty interesting question, and with that pretty interesting solution also. So hope guys you enjoyed this question. Thanks for joining in. Thank you, Shomu sir.
Yeah, thank you, Harshal.
Thank you guys. Have a nice day.
If you haven't yet checked the full playlist containing this video, then check the description for the direct link. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated with our daily questions, tutorials, and problem-solving sessions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to never miss an update. In addition to our daily questions, we also offer comprehensive preparation for CAT and other management entrance tests. If you're looking to excel in these exams, we highly recommend checking out these courses in our website. To get a taste of what our courses have to offer, we invite you to take a free demo. The demo will give you a glimpse into the quality and effectiveness of our teaching methods, study materials, and practice resources. You can find the relevant links in the description of this video. Have a nice and successful preparation ahead. See you in the next one.